Hi, I'm Olivia Xing. I'm the playwright and director of Birds and the Curiosity. In this video, I'll talk about why I love theater, how I've started, what I'm doing now with Birds and the Curiosity, and why you should come see this play. I first fell in love with theater in the freshman year of college, where um, I accidentally signed up for the audition for the production and I got cast. It's super cliche, super cringy story. Um, but it was a great experience. The piece was Sarah Rule's Eurydice, um, like a feminist take on Eurydice, and I love Sarah Rule. But like I have no idea who she is, what the piece is, what character I'm playing. Well, I have no idea what theater means either because I was born and raised in China and I've never done any theater. Probably seen like one or two puppetry show and that's it. Um, but I fall in love with it immediately because I was not a native speaker and my English was not as fluent as it is now. When I first came to America, like that was 7 years ago. So, but on stage, I felt seen and heard, and it was mm, it's kind of selfish, and it's like for my own reason why um I fall in love with theater, and gradually I feel like this idea of something that's about empathy, that's about transcending language and however you look and however you sound like is not just it. Uh, it does not only benefit me, but benefit all the audience too. Like they could identify with the characters on stage and feel represented and feel more free. Um, why do I have to keep doing it? It's because um wow, why yeah, right. Why do I keep doing it? I'm losing so much money and I'm losing so much sleep and why do I keep doing theater? Theater is so time consuming. Like the rehearsal, it's every night, 7 to 11, and that's just how it is, like at least 4 or 5 hour long. It's not the same for film, for example, although your shooting day may be 12-hour long, but there's barely any rehearsal, and it's just you shot it, it's done. It's not like you rehearse it, you have to present it, and anything could happen, and every iteration will be different. So but that's the magic of theater, right? It's you have to be so present, and you have to be so in the moment that every second I feel like you are given more life to it. There's always a quote. Growing up, really love this quote, and the context is that I growing up, especially after my father passed, I have this like mortality anxiety and like I'm afraid of death basically. um and so this quote is don't give life time, give time life. Something more poetic, but the idea is that it's not about the length but the depth of the moments where we live. And in theory, I feel like juggling multiple things at the same time constantly in life. I am so focused and present when I'm making theater, and it's like magical. theater is my therapy because theater helped me deal with the traumatic event the best. Um, and I don't want it to make it sound like artists need trauma to create, that all kind of bullshit. No, like you could be very healthy and happy and create very joyful and hopeful work, or very sad work, even though you're very happy. It's uh, but unfortunately, walking in this very hostile world, you just encounter difficulty in life. Like for me, there's the depressive stages that come from family member passing, from the political depression, because my home country has heavy censorship and dictatorship, and the homesickness because I'm away from my homeland, and for many years I haven't been back home for I haven't been back home for 5 years. My God, it's a long time. Um, COVID, that like the loneliness, all that. I I think only theater, not only theater. Well, you can hang out with your friend and that heal it a little bit. But theater just has this healing power, and the because what's the word? Just cathartic. Because the catharsis that comes from theater really, it's so powerful, and it heals the whatever traumatic feeling you're having, or depressive feeling you're having. Still sounds like a, a blanket statement, but oh well, that's how I feel with theater. And the plays I've written are, uh, yes, directly related to my personal life. For example, during COVID, um, I wrote a solo show, and it's about the loneliness in New York, and it was on the rooftop. We could only, because it was open air, and we could only like have 10 audience because it was like just right the summer, right after COVID. We're still kind of, we wanted to make it safe. Um, and doing that show and going up to my own rooftop every night and seeing Manhattan from a distance in the neighborhood of Brooklyn, with 10 other strangers, and reflecting on what we've been through for the past 2 years. It would, it make my life, and hopefully my the life of my audience, just a little bit better. Because at the end of the show is about making wishes, and this little girl is sleepwalking because she rem- for some reason remembers that tonight it will be a meteor shower, but she didn't. The meteor shower happened, but it's sort of like, is it in her dream or is it really happened? And then at the end of the show, I said to the audience, every day there are 5 million meteorites, or minor meteorite hits the atmosphere. So technically every day it's a good day for making a wish. And if we keep hoping and make wishes, um, time will pass and things will get better. And COVID, we survive very luckily, uh, and I'm very humbled. But still, I hope I hope we could keep making wishes. And then the political depression was around, like, well, especially last winter, where there's a national protest around China happened for the first time many years after Tiananmen incident. Um, so I wrote my comedy special. It's a stand-up um, about like the ridiculousness of the politics in America and like the racism and like the bipartisanship that's really not making sense to me because people are hating on each other. And then there's like this one party system in China that's like it's a dictator, what's the word, dictatorial, um and uh this one party system that's not, it's definitely not working either. So and people die from politics, and it's like so real, although we're not running for president. Although the joke in my the 1/3 of my show is that I'm running for president and I'll be a better candidate than whoever's in charge right now. We're not really, um, except when we're voting, paying that close attention to politics. But theater is a thing that you can engage with more easily. If so we write for example, we write a show about two goldfish, and goldfish, the thing is short memory. But one of the goldfish realized that and resisted and want to jump out of the tank, knowing that it will sacrifice itself. But because it saw the idea of ocean on the TV screen, I thought, that's ocean, I need to go there. So it jumped out of the tank to hit the screen of the TV. And you know that's like about the illusion of freedom through media. And there's about like the short memories about the censorship and or self-censorship that you feel in under a tyrant tyranny ruling. But it's also, meanwhile, it's the theater make it so cute and so um relatable, and you know, at that moment I don't have to just be a Chinese citizen. I could be a fish. I could be a world citizen, a global citizen. It could be about this the relationship between these two fish in a tank. One want to stay in the water because it's safer and happier and more comfortable, which is also very legit. We don't all have to be a martyr. Um, and so there are different ways to engage with the issue, and audience could interpret it freely. So I get to like I I'm not delivering a monologue. It's like we're having a dialogue. Even if it's a stand-up comedy show, I'm still like talking with my audience. And if they laugh, they cry, whatever kind of reaction they make, it helped the show better. So at the end of the day, theater is a form of therapy, um, or a form of, honestly, a form of protest. And but protest is a ritual, so like we could all like, and therapy is it's kind of a ritual too. Anyway, it's a space in which we connect with other human to, and theater is a way in which we explore the nature of human connection to move forward. Who said I'm obsessed with writing? I'm not obsessed. I have a life outside theater. Do I though? Because I'm in tech yesterday, and then right after tech, I was in the Hollywood Fringe opening night to promote the show in an ostrich puppet. So I'm okay. So okay, I'm kind of obsessed with writing and with theater. All right, I'll admit that. Why am I? Why do I like writing? Why am I obsessed about? Well, it's it's wow, it dates back from the college essay. I I applied to America, which is not the usual move. Um, mo but the system in China is that you have to pass a standardized test to get into university, and I was particularly bad at math and all related subject, like science related. I wasn't that bad, but I'm not interested in it. I mean, if I have to do it, sure, but I have biased against the standardized test. Um, and then I found this major called comparative literature. That's only an undergrad major in the US or UK, probably some other universities. But I was looking at this major, I was like, wow, comparative literature. I get to do not just I get to do world literature. I get to study language and I get to study the philosophy of storytelling. So I'm like, maybe I should apply to study that in America. So I wrote my personal statement about how storytelling can change world, and from a very high school 16-year-old perspective, I was trying to be deep. I I didn't really know what I was saying yet. I still don't know how storytelling can change the world, but I'm getting a more clear feeling. Um, and so I pursued that disciplinary, and I studied multiple language. I also I speak Mandarin and French. So I did my thesis on the graphic novel that's co-written by a French and a Chinese illustrator. So like, how do you translate a text in graphic novel? Because text in graphic novel is not only textual but also visual. So how do you translate that from English to the Chinese characters? That is even more visual. Because it's all, you know. Um, and then I started writing for theater um during the pandemic, and that's like a brain vomit because I have so much to say about about the loneliness, the homesickness, and the nostalgia and death. And again, it goes back to my um mortality anxiety. Um, and and I realized theater is you write it, but you could also those words are meant to be performed and heard. And guess what? Writing, it's such a lonely process, but theater is such a collaborative process. And so I get to give my trust my piece of work writing to others, and they will take care of it. And that's just I'm so grateful for the collaborativeness of writing for theater. Um, I am I I am obsessed with writing and telling story because I think that's not just my instinct, but also like our it's species instinct, and it's very primal activity. I'm saying this like it sounds like, oh, so metaphysical. I'm like, what are you talking about? But you think about it, like, wait, what's the word for human? Sapien? Homo sapien like exist because um because we tell story to each other. We're like at first the story is about, you know, we can create this kind of exchange system. I'll give you the shells from my where I live near the coast, and you can give me some yam that you grow in the mountains. And they talk to each other, and then it becomes something that everyone believes in, which is the economic system. And because we all believe in the story telling the fiction, this fictional thing, but we all believe in it, and so it works. How crazy is that? And so is our political system, so is our day-to-day life. It's honestly, it's all about the trust in the stories that we created, how we talk to each other, this language, and the words we use, and um the fables we always go back to, that's about um brave courage, that's about integrity, that's about kindness, um that's against evil, and against um against hurting other people. And those are all stories that have been told again and again and again, and we believe in it, and that's what make us. And as and like I realized that, and that's, I think, lies in the foundation of my obsession, among other things that make me really, really love writing. But the foundation of it all is that we can't help it, because it's instinct. It's the instinct to try to talk to God, try to pray for a rain, because we think our story can make God cry, and so our core will keep grow. Like how, like why are we, how imaginative it is, but how natural it is. And that's how theater is born. Like we dance for to pray for a ring, a ring on the field. So that's that. It's a little bit too long and a little bit like brain vomiting. But yeah, that's that. Why is theater unique? And I've been thinking about this and trying to make sense of it, because swear to God, I wish I could just do TV. There's much more money in there. Um, and as an actor, I love acting for film too. I just wrapped a feature, my first lead role in a feature film in New York, and that felt like an experience I've never had either. And because I we were shooting on a subway station in New York. I can't do a theater piece in a subway station in New York. But the moment of my acting was captured there, through camera. So that was great. But you know what? I was acting alone there. I wasn't engaging with any passerby in the subway station, as crowd as it was. So that's why I have to keep going back to theater, because theater gather people, and you're sharing this moment together. The actor and the audience, you're sharing this moment together, and you can't have that with any other media. The painter in the gallery, he's not always, Picasso is not standing next to his painting and explain the multiple perspective in this, and but um and sometimes theater can even talk to the audience, like Brechtian work, where like they break the false wall, and I came to realization of this because at the moment when I went to an anti-Asian hate protest during COVID, we were walking through the Brooklyn Bridge Park. So many people were like holding a sign. And I was like, this is theater. This is, there's a line we keep repeating. People gather, and there's a formation of a movement. And if we, I if I quote Peter Brook, if you have a space and a man traverse through the space, that's theater. Um, the space and the people and space, people are in the space with one another. That's that is power. And recently, a lot of live shows are banned in China after a stand-up comedian made a very innocent joke, but it could be interpreted, but was interpreted wrong and got fined because the government wanted to. um, I I think people in power are afraid of the power that a live performance, a live performing art experience hold. Um, and that's why I want to do it, because if it's something you tell me I shouldn't do, oh man, I wanted to do it even more. Um, for the goldfish piece, that's we staged it in Seattle in December uh, after the protests happened in China, also in support of what's happening in Iran and well, Ukraine, Russia, and other places in the world. And and the idea, sometimes I wanted to create a theater, um, is that we could see the piece, and the amount of people will walk out of the theater together, and we could just take on the streets. And that, that's sort of a, that's how I see theater. It's protest. The idea come from a talk with between me and my co-writer, and Gefei was talking about how like sometimes she just think about the issue that she has now and start blaming on her childhood. It's a thing we all do, We're like, this happened because this happened in the past. So now I'm this. I'm not, I'm not doing this right now because I never was able to do this. Or like it's a it's limiting though, and it's not being present. So we're like, what if this adult has the same problem as we have? We're like, well, all our problem is because something we experienced in our childhood. But like, what if this adult go back to childhood and realize, oh, I can, instead of helping her, I can actually learn more from her. Like if actually I possess all the qualities in my authentic self and I forgot them on the way of growing up. And I wasn't this unfortunate child. I had the support of my family and friend. Also, I'm speaking this in the individual cases. I'm not just, when I say we, it's like the playwright. I'm not saying everyone had a happy childhood with support of family friends. Um, But I do want to say that um, how to survive our childhood now that we're adult, it's not about blaming the childhood, uh, being obsessed with what had happened. It's about being present. And so the protagonist, the future, the adult self, the adult version of our protagonist travel back and then travel back to her present time and and started to think that the way I survived my childhood, present now that I'm an adult, it's to be an adult and to be myself and love who I am, find who I am and love who I am and move forward instead of go moving backwards. Um yes, that's uh, so we wrote like two, three, many versions of this story. There's the earlier stages of this story, it's told from this adult perspective, looking back to childhood. And they were like, no, 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 no. It's not, wait, but this, has she figured out? She figured out where's she gonna go? And but we honestly we don't really know. We don't really know yet. And because this piece is really personal, we want to stay true because we haven't figured out. We're still 20 something year old. We're like, but we could write from the how we were, how we felt, and the emotion, the ecstasy, and as well as the calamity we felt as a kid for tiny little things, from sharing a snack to like losing a favorite sticker, and just like this tiny little thing creates such huge emotion in us, and we're like, we remember all of that, we could write all of that, and we could let the younger self teach the adult self something. When did I start doing puppeteering? The first puppetry piece I made was for my exchange program in Paris. I wasn't again, like it's the same thing where you go to another country and the language is not catching up with your thoughts. But the great thing about puppetry is that you don't have to talk. I started doing théâtre d'objet, object theater, with a club at the Paris Nanterre University. It was about uncanny and time and mirroring. Uh, that it doesn't really have a story, but it's sort of like use puppetry to elucidate the concept that Freud keep talking about. Because you know, Freud is always talking about this doubling and the fear that's in us for something that looks almost like us but not there, and sometimes that's puppet. And so I started in France, and then I came back to the US. And my last year, I have to do a thesis for my major in theater, and oh my God, COVID hit, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do a theater piece with other people. I have to do it all. Um, and so I I saw a show that's this puppet that's made out of ice, and it just throughout the show it will keep melting. By the end of the show, it's just water. And it was one of the most beautiful piece I've ever seen. And I saw it on the screen. I didn't see it live. I was like, wow, this it works. I think puppetry works for a screen. Um a lot of theater doesn't. Puppets sometimes do. Um and I think theater really needs to engage with time, and the ice melting, that's like the most ingenious way to engage with time in theater. And so, and also I started being very politically active during COVID. I'm like so mad at what the Chinese government was doing. Especially censoring the doctors to release the true information because they're afraid of causing a panic in the public. But you can't throw a doctor in jail because they have the right information. Like anyway, um, and one of the whistleblower of COVID passed, and that was like I was so I was started creating object theater uh, where I'm silenced. I'm not talking. This time I'm silenced not because I have the language barriers, because I can't talk. So 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 metaphorically and literally, um, so I without words, puppetry we puppetry still we could still empathize with the puppet. And even as simple as a found object that looks kind of like what's going on right now, our brain, it's crazy. Like we just make association. And it's because we have the ability to empathize. It's this, and like, it's amazing. I think the power of empathy really, really shows in any object slash puppetry work, because that's not human, but we still cry for it. And like our heart tingles when a little puppet fall off the stage, like what? Why? We know it wouldn't get hurt. It's made of wood. We still wanted to be sad about it. It's kind of crazy. And that's if we keep practicing it, I think if children keep practicing it, they'll grow up to a more sympathetic adult, you know? You could see someone that's going to hurt them and you want to help them. And it's the same ability. It's an ability to empathy. And and then I started my MFA program at CalArts in acting. And one of the class we take was Jenny Geyser. I love Jenny. Shout out to Jenny. Jenny Geyser is performing object performing objects, and I was reading about performing objects and there's a piece about marionette, why it's my puppets marionettes are better actors. It's because they have no ego, um, and it's true. They do things because they do things, and they don't really care how their hair look like. And a lot of human actor can't do that, me included. It's we just naturally we always carry a ego. Puppets don't. And when I'm manipulating puppet, I sort of let go of my ego too, because people are not looking at you, people are looking at the puppet. So now with this piece, Person of Curiosity, why do we want to include puppets in this piece? Because it's really about this 9-year-old girl going through life and encounter some calamity in the first time, bullying, body image issue, can't fit in a piece of costume. Why are my friends laughing at me? Why did Nana pass away? And why is my pet hamster also going to die at some point? And why do people have to leave? Why do I have to lose things? Why can't I be happy all the time? But she's dealing with such a childish and innocent and joyful and hopeful way. Like like when she feels caged because the Chinese teacher misspies control. So at the day, she saw ostrich free running on the highway. And that's, is it imagination or is it real? We don't know. But that's how kids see the world, right? They see the possibility of the world, and they see it with you could say unfiltered, or with a filter that makes it even more true to how the world should be experienced. It just like we wanted to free. It is like the wonderment. It's so important to um this piece. So we thought, oh, you know what? A bit. We can't hire a real ostrich, but we could make a giant full body puppet that's a shiny ostrich that walk through the aisle of the audience. So to make it just a little bit more immersive. And so the audience is invited to little Robin's, little Zhigeng's part of the world, and how audience see how she see the world. That where audience is not caged, where the hamster is hamster hamster singing, and where the what else do where there's like after Nana died, a bird visited us, and it sort of sounded like Nana. Um, so it's about, again, it's about dealing trauma. But you know, theater has always have a soft way to deal with trauma. It's just it's magic. Um, and also there's a theater section in the play that is about uh an adaptation of Ugly Duckling. Because Ugly Duckling kind of teaches kids a wrong message. Like you couldn't bully someone because what? Because they will turn into a beautiful white swan? No, just you should be kind to someone no matter how they look. And you know what? It's okay to just be an ugly duckling because it's not about being ugly. It's just ugly duckling is not ugly. It's ugly duckling just looks different from the brother and sisters. And it's okay to be different. Don't have to be one. So the story of Ugly Duckling should be about discovering who you are and who you always have been. You don't have to have a magical makeover or transformation. And so our 9-year-old protagonist rewrite the story in the play. So it's a play in a play, and put on this little toy theater with two of her best friend. That's about ducklings, and they learn about each other, and they learn about how everyone's different from one another, which makes us all the same. My co-creator, my co-creator is Gefei, who is majoring in creative producing and management at CalArts. We're the same year. We're both Master of Fine Arts. Year 2, we're graduating next year. This is the 5th work we've collaborated to create together. The first one is Every Brilliant Thing. We did the Chinese version of it on Zoom during the pandemic, and then we did our rooftop show where Cafe helped me produce it. And then we did a show, an interview-based show that's about that where we interviewed 6 community member from Wuhan, the where COVID originally, the pandemics originally started, and we that was a Zoom show too. It's verbatim, and I was the writer, but we interviewed the participants together, and then we did, oh wow, this is the six people. Well, okay, no, that doesn't count. Um, then we did the Goldfish. That one is the first one act play we co-wrote together. And the thing about writing together, it's a question, it's something we get to ask a lot about because usually the playwright is one person. Mm, how do we write together? It's kind of amazing, and I don't know how it works either, really. But we have various skills, like different. We're obviously different from each other. Um, Gefei, I think Gefei sometimes like will has like an idea of the story and we'll like talk about it together. And I, as an actor, are tend to write for the character likes writing for the character in a dialogue, and also we get to improv with each other and create a dialogue that way. And Gefei, I think she's naturally better in the like the plot twist and like the structure of the story. So it worked for some reason, and all we're both very hardworking and passionate, and we're very passionate, which makes us make a lot of bad financial decision when you're too passionate about something. Putting that aside, um, we put a lot of work in writing, and we actually have work writing session every day for many hours. It's the diligence. I think writing, sometimes we think of writing and creating art, it's this like you have a thing that's so random and you have to wait for God to inspire you. But sometimes honestly it is just it's diligence and work, and you just have to put the time. And it's easier to put into the time when you have a buddy. That's why you have a gym buddy, you have a workout buddy, you have a what else? You have a study buddy, and you have a language buddy. And this is Gavei's my writing buddy, theater buddy. So what I want the audience to get out of this production is um, some laughs, some um, some um, other emotions, some laughs. What I want my audience to get out of this piece is an experience that make them kind of sometimes happy, sometimes moved, sometimes kind of sad, but eventually some hopes. Um, and to all the kids that will see the show, I want to say, you, if anyone can overturn this capitalist and hierarchical and bad theater system, this and make more experimental and beautiful and heartfelt pieces, is the young, is the next generation. And honestly, not only in theater, I hope you can, the kids will see this play and feel like I could change the world. And I hope the adults see this play and feel like I can still change the world. People who like theater for young audience should definitely come. And I think theater for young audience as a concept need to be expanded, because I think theater audience should be fun for both kids and adults, so adults should come too. I just want to say that this story, although it's a coming of age story of this 9-year-old little girl, it's also about the other characters, and each character has a, a lot of personality and has their own storyline. For example, the grandma, for example, the mom, for example, the bird columnist that a little Zhigeng loves reading. Um, for example, the adult version of our protagonist. For example, the cat hamster. Like you even get to know about the origin story and the whole story of a little hamster, and there's also a dialogues of these two passengers on the bus, and so it's not a classic one act or three act play. I would say it's more like a photo album or a constellation, um, with many moments and many characters. Um, that's has that's connected by a central theme, um, and they're all in this photo album where you can just flip through and you're like, oh wow, this this scene is the style is exposed, and this scene is more saturated color, and this scene is it's intimate and it's a little bit sad, and this photo uh, has a lot of puppets in it. So you're just like flipping this album. I'm sure one of the picture will hit you. Hi, I'm Olivia Xing. I'm the director and playwright for the new Theater for Audience and AAPI piece, Birds and the Curiosity, 鸟与好奇号. It's a coming of age story of the 9-year-old Chinese girl and her time traveling future self, and many birds and a singing hamster. Want to know more? Come see our show.